Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you're checking in from. My name is Charlie from the Ezoic Access Now onboarding team. I'm sure some of you guys have seen me in here before or in Twist. Maybe I've emailed you before. But I'd like to give everyone a handful of minutes just to, get their things gathered, give them some time to jump in here. And then we can get things going, kicked off. But thank you all for joining again. If you have not been in here before, feel free to just drop anything down in the comment section over on the right, and we can kind of talk through everything that you guys have going on, or any questions or issues you might have. But anything's on the table. There's nothing off limits. Of course, Zoic related would be ideal. But we can really use this time to cover anything that will be of most benefit for you all. But again, I'm just going to give everyone 3-4 minutes just to give them some time to get in here, and then we can start things off. I know we're only 2 minutes in, so again, we'll just give everyone a couple more minutes to join in, and then we can start going through either anything that you guys want me to cover specifically, or I can just start opening up Twists, where we do 99% of our support, and just kind of talk through the things I see in there, and maybe I can talk about some common trends, maybe some issues that other people are having. But I can really go from either Twist or whatever you guys want to go off of. But I'm curious where you guys are checking in from. So if you guys want to, you can just drop down in the comment section and you can say, hey, my name is XYZ. I'm checking in from blah, blah, blah. And I would love to cover this today. Second language. Happy to see you again as well. I'm sorry I was out last week, but I had some time off and that was really nice. But yeah, I'm happy to be back. I'm excited to go into it again today. See how long we can go for, see what you guys want to cover. And go from there. Yeah, second language. I know you know how this works. And right now, since we're still really early on in the stream, if you want to just drop something down in the comment section, we can kind of go over it a little more extensively since we're kind of early on and people are a little bit behind. But I do want to say thanks for joining again. I love seeing you guys here on my Thursday morning or wherever Thursday evening, afternoon you guys are all from or checking in from. But I really do love this part of the week. It kind of gives me a break in my schedule. Instead of just doing meetings or support, I really like coming in talking to you guys. Awesome. First question. Battle Axe of SERP Slang +5. Great name. I'll call you Battle Axe. I think that's a pretty awesome name, to be honest. He or she says, hey, Charlie. So just wanted to clarify, as you go up in levels, this applies to all websites in your Zoic account. That's what I see when I look at the level dashboard. If so, that's very cool. So you're exactly correct, Battle Axe. Levels does apply to all of the websites or domains in your account. So if you have one super successful domain, that's beautiful, and that's fine. But if you have 10 smaller domains that are all kind of working at the same pace, they can be of equal value. So yes, if you have levels accounts to all of the domains in your dashboard, I agree, it's really cool. So we say it's not about the number of domains, but it's basically levels are applied to the publisher itself. So again, regardless if that's one domain or 15 or 30. But that's kind of why we like to keep everything. Maybe you've seen us in the past talk with other publishers about, if they have one domain in an account and then they open up another account because they have another domain. But it's actually better just to consolidate accounts because, it creates confusion with your publisher settings, your Google account information, but then it also applies to the levels dashboard, which is obviously only beneficial to you all. So yeah, that's kind of another thing I can kind of answer really quickly, even though I already did. I've seen this question a lot. Just I have a bunch of domains. Like, what is the limit? How many can I add to my Zoic account? Like, how many domains can I add? You can actually add as many domains as you like to one Ezoic account. As long as you don't have multiple Ezoic accounts, that just creates a lot of confusion and issues on both of our ends. There's no benefit of having multiple Ezoic accounts at all, as we can obviously go through and show by, for an example here, the levels dashboard. If you separate them out and you have two smaller domains, you're basically gonna be sitting in access now level 1 when you really could be level 2 with 2 domains in one account. Tech House says, will the ad index improve soon, please? Great question, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with this tool, but I don't think there's a for sure way, like an explicit answer I can give. But historically, we can look at the ad revenue index. So if I can share my screen really quick. Here we are. Oh wait, sorry. All right, so we're in the online ad revenue index. What's today, the 14th of July? So let's look at last year. So we can just scroll back to last year. Where are we at? February, that's this year. So historically, we are to the end of summer. We are in July. So you guys can kind of see the dip. We hit the end of Q2, or sorry, the end of Q1. The start of Q2 is right here. So you can see the dip, and then things kind of slowly come back up. So historically, on this day last year, your answer will be yes, it will go up over the next few days, and then kind of dip again to the end of July. And then here's a huge spike at the beginning of August. I feel like there's a lot of summertime marketing expenses going out, and then we kind of go up here through Q2, and I think this is the start of Q3 or 4. And then we can kind of see this, steady incline throughout the rest of Q4. But yeah, so I can't answer your question explicitly on, this day is it's going to go back up. But let's say if we were looking at this exact day last year, technically over the next few days it went up, but it remained rather consistent through here as it goes up at the end of Q4. Let's check out the pattern from the year before as well and kind of see what happened there. So we're April. Oh, that's still 2021, excuse me. So yeah, as you can see from the year before, it's not the same exact scale and line. Like this is more of a linear line, but you can still see that it kind of drops at the beginning of Q2 and then kind of slowly increases over the next couple weeks and months. But if we were to actually look at the network index, it's 40 from 2 years ago. April, May, June, July, 63 last year. So it already is up a good bit. But then, back at, we'll call it 50. So no, there's not a definitive answer I can give here, even though I wish I could. But that is kind of your best bet in terms of, what is the ad revenue index going to do over the next couple days, weeks, months. I think that's also a really good, I think this tool is good just to see maybe when are the best times of year or month or week to even make some drastic changes. You're like, hey, I kind of want to, maybe I'm thinking about changing my layout or my theme, and my layout, and I want to change a bunch of, things in terms of my content. Well, maybe your best bet, if you don't want to affect earnings as much, is do it in a slower time of the year, maybe at the beginning of Q2 or Q3. When the revenue index is low. Yes, of course, you might be seeing an extra hit because you're making changes and the ad revenue index is low. But then on the flip of that, when you get everything kind of optimized and ready to go, you'll be ready to earn more when the index goes back up again. Let me share this URL with the index down in the comment section just so you guys have it. But great question. Annex says, hello. Hello, I know now that we're 10 minutes in, I can reintroduce myself. My name is Charlie. I'm from the Ezoic Access Now onboarding team. You guys see me a lot in Twist, sometimes in tickets, sometimes in emails, but primarily through Twist and maybe here. If you've been here before, I've been with Ezoic for just over a year now. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite times of the week, so thank you all for joining me. Feel free to introduce yourself in the comment section if you haven't before. If you're going to reintroduce yourself, you can say, hey, maybe this is something I want to cover in the live stream. This is my name again. And maybe even like, hey, this is where I'm checking in from. Just, I kind of like this time because it is our time to be, face to face and show that I am a real person. I'm not just someone, behind the screen and support. Why did Ezoic start accepting websites that have less than 10,000 monthly page views? So I think the reason why Ezoic started it now is because they saw the potential in all you guys. I don't think any other ad networks or publisher tools kind of work with sites on this smaller side. I think the reason is because no one had the creativity or maybe the vision that Ezoic did to say, hey, you know what? We can actually take on as many sites as possible as long as we set up the process in order for it to be, on the more educational self-serving side. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but outside of the Access Now program, basically we can have like a sales rep reach out to a website and say, hey, this is who and what Ezoic does. This is what we've done in the past with similar websites. Essentially, you can see these benefits coming over to Ezoic. So instead of reaching out one-on-one with some of these bigger sites, we've kind of opened up the gates for everyone to succeed. And that way everyone can kind of come in at the Access Now level, see how amazing the program is, truthfully, and then kind of, level up and use Ezoic as a tool to, to grow your site, grow your earnings and kind of improve everything all around. And I want to say maybe why did Ezoic do this? I kind of want to change this, the perspective of this question and just to show you guys like how beneficial this program is to you all. They basically set up Ezoic for these bigger sites that are crazy in depth and detailed and really, fine detail down to the T. And when they opened up this program to you all, they literally, gave you access to all the features and to all of the tools that are already available for all the bigger sites that, bring in tons of money on a daily basis. So there's nothing that we left out for you guys that we have for them. So it really, for you guys, is just like the best tool to use in order to grow your site. Before I go on too much of a rant, we can go into some of these other questions, but I do want you guys to think about that Ezoic was kind of built off some of these bigger sites that need, really fine data and reporting and these features that really work. And so now that they brought the Access Now program on, I want you guys to realize that this tool that they built out for you all is actually really amazing, and it's incredibly beneficial for you all to grow your site on the smaller side of things. Jemerson says, hello, Charlie. What parameters should we follow to increase our Epmb? Good question. Without going into because there's so many things that go into it, where your traffic comes from, whether it's, country, region, whether it's social media traffic, organic traffic, there's a lot of things we can look into. But I basically want you to think, Jemerson, is basically, improving your user experience will basically help improve, your Epmb. So some things I would look at is like, so maybe the bounce rate, maybe see if users are bouncing really quickly off your pages. Well, maybe that's, you have short content, thin content, or just content that doesn't exactly cover what the title is. You can also look at how long, users are engaging with your pages because, when they're actually viewing the pages and looking at them, that's when they're actually viewing the inventory and the ads on your site. And so the better you set up the content in your pages to, work better with the user, the better they are with the user, the better they are going to be with your Epmb and in turn your earnings. So I really want you to think maybe more umbrella, less fine detail of what exactly metrics you're looking at, and just think of, what are the best ways you can improve the user experience when going to your page. So it could be, adding videos, it could be removing, if you have a ton of images back to back, maybe you remove some of those images and make, the content more of the, the limelight of the page. Kind of, you want to give everyone You want to give the user what they want to see. How are you facing low Epmb? Great question. I like how you guys are interacting with each other. But Patrick, so basically what Tech How was asking or implying is he was asking about the ad revenue index. So that's kind of something outside of all of our control. So that was kind of more geared towards his question. But something I kind of want to touch upon here is that if you are seeing a low Epmb, and you're like, hey, maybe I was using AdSense before and I was earning way more, that's something you should flag to me or to any of us in Twist or in support, because that usually means that something is wrong with your setup. Seeing a really low Epmb, especially when coming from AdSense, it's usually something we can point out, whether it's unwrapped ads or it's, maybe your placeholders aren't set up. Maybe they're not super dense in quantity. Maybe there's not a wide variety of placeholders, but yeah, if you are seeing a low Epmb, it's always best to reach out to us right away, and we can just say, hey, we noticed X, Y, and Z. This is why your Epmb is low. Because if your setup is dialed in, it is a near guarantee to earn more than anywhere else. Good question here. How can I delete the placeholders generated by the WordPress plugin? I had previously generated placeholders using the Chrome expansion, and now I have these plugin ones too. I can't find a way to delete them in the monetization page. So you can actually delete them through the monetization dashboard. I believe that's the best way to do it, and go through and delete them one by one. But I will say that if you do have the WordPress plugin enabled with all of those placeholders along with the Chrome extension placeholders, that's actually ideal. You might think, oh, there's a ton of placeholders. This is spammy. This is not going to be good for user experience. But there's actually a direct correlation with more placeholders and better user experience, which means better earnings and revenue. So you might think more placeholders is going to dilute some of the content or maybe oversaturate the ads, but essentially having more placeholders does not mean that more ads will show. It just gives our AI more variations and places to test ads. So if your main concern here, maybe you can clarify later on in the comment section what your concern is happening with all of these placeholders. If that is your thought, maybe there's too many placeholders, you're worried about the user experience. It's actually the contrary. More placeholders, better user experience. Yes, it has been quite low these past 2 weeks. So that would make exact sense if it was the past 2 weeks, because today's the 14th of July and the start of Q2 was July 1st. So yeah, we're exactly 2 weeks out. So that's not a major cause for concern. But I think one of the best things that you all can do, and I kind of said this week after week, but the best thing you guys can do right now to ensure that it's not just the ad revenue index that is hurting your Epmb is to go to the analytics tab of your dashboard, go to your top 5 landing pages, and then visit those actual pages, and then enable the Chrome extension so you can see all the placeholders top to bottom on your pages. And if you're seeing any spaces where you could have potentially an ad showing, I would just go through and add as many placeholders throughout those top 5 landing pages. That way you're kind of dialed in, and all of your most frequently visited pages are fully optimized. Yeah, same with me. So yeah, it is the ad revenue index. I know we talked about it a bit earlier, but just 2 comments above yours in the comment section, I actually did drop the URL where you can see the ad revenue index, and it can kind of give you guys a good indication of when you can see it to increase, when it might drop off. Again, it's not a perfect tool year after year. So, as we saw in 2021, July 15th and 16th, it actually jumped up 15 or 16 points, I'll say. That doesn't mean it's going to exactly happen again tomorrow and the next day, but you might see an increase over the next week or so. I'm starting a need site. Do I need to have any minimum traffic or post to apply for a Zoic? No. I would especially say if your site is brand new and you want to use some of the tools that the platform has, in order to grow your site, I would say now is a great time to do it. If you have really, really small amounts of traffic and articles, it might not be approved for monetization right away, but that's totally okay. I would say, honestly, integrate your site, use Leap, use the analytics, use our caching, app, use those things and use, especially the data side of things. I would especially say use those features and to help grow your site. And then maybe later on when you have, let's say 10 to 15 or articles or more, and maybe like a couple hundred visits over a month, that's when you can maybe reach out and say, hey, Charlie, I actually signed up this site last month, 2 months ago, but the site was nearly brand new, so it got denied for monetization, which is okay. You can just say, hey, I've actually grown the site, I've written content, can you maybe take a second look at it? I don't think the first time it came around was like a fair shot and a fair review. And we can say, yep, we can see your site was basically brand new. We can see you've been adding content. We can see the Google traffic has been increasing over the past couple weeks. And we can turn the site on for monetization. But to answer your question, simply, there's no minimum traffic, and there's no minimum post to apply for Ezoic. Oh, Rude, yes. Okay, you changed your name. Yes. Let's see. I think I just responded to your email this morning. To give you guys some clarification. So Rude does have another site as well. And then I think he signed it up previously and then had removed integration. So some of the settings on our backend had actually blocked some of the SSL from propagating to his site. So if you guys are ever integrating your site and you're seeing like a compatibility error message on your dashboard, always reach out to us right away, and it's something we can take care of. But Rude, yes, of course I remember you. I did answer your email this morning, and the site was up. SSL had propagated. DNS looked great. I saw the site was up and live, going through our proxy, so everything looked good from our end. You can also go to the monetization tab of your dashboard, and you can see where your review status is, kind of maybe the timeline and how much longer you have to go. Valley. So this is Scott from Florida. How are you, Scott? Thanks for joining us. I guess you're, just after lunch, maybe mid-lunch right now. Great to have you. I'm not sure if I've seen you in here before, but regardless, I'm happy to have you. My name is Charlie. I'm not sure if you joined earlier or just now, but my name is Charlie. Taylor Gaming says approved by Ezoic and Adsense, but denied by Google. So yeah, in order for you guys to monetize through Zoic, you do have to get approved for monetization through Zoic and the connect to Google step. So I know this is a bit confusing because you're like, hey, I'm approved for AdSense, but why is Google denying me? So Google Ad Manager and AdSense are both part of Google, but are technically different realms of Google. So it is possible to get denied by Ad Manager and Zoic, but approved by AdSense. But that does not mean you have to count your losses and walk away. You can actually you can make changes to your site and your domain, and then resubmit. We can actually help facilitate this and give you some insight on what you actually might need to change. So your best thing to do, Taylor Gaming, is to reach out to us in support. So find us in Twist and say, hey, I was approved for Ezoic and AdSense. Can you guys see why Google Ad Manager denied me? We can say, hey, actually, it's saying your site's not ready to show ads, which basically just means maybe it's just an ads.txt entry we need to add. Maybe it's something we notice in something in your menu that's just not right. Maybe you have repeating articles. But sometimes this can be a rather easy navigation and something we can easily help change and get an approval for. But regardless, you don't have to just count your losses and walk away. We can make improvements and changes, and you can be all good. Tech House says, would be great to have a detailed guide about which all of these Leap optimization settings are doing and how we can improve ad loading times on the site. So I agree that's a great idea to, maybe we can add some more clarification on what exactly these settings do. I can maybe kind of help facilitate that answer to the best of my ability now if you have one in mind. But if you think of, like images, so we do reformat your images and that side of things. So originally they might be served as like a JPEG, but through the data and all of the experiments we've run and all of the knowledge out on the internet, WebP formats are actually the fastest way we can serve images. So for something like that, that's kind of, basically the way things work. But yeah, I agree. That is a good idea. We can add maybe like a small description of what these things actually do specifically. That might help you troubleshoot things if you're seeing errors in Leap or on your site after you activate Leap. That might help you work backwards and say, hey, this is the function that broke. I saw that this feature did this, so maybe that's my best avenue to work backwards. But the second part of your question, and how we can improve ad loading times on the site. So Core Web Vitals and Site Speed actually don't measure the time of like how quickly ads load. It's only about how quickly the content on the page loads, because that's what's important to you and the user. It's not about how fast the ads will load. I also want you guys to remember that kind of how the programmatic bidding process works. So if I were to visit your site, TechHow, right now, let's say it was techhow.com, I would press enter. The content will always load first, and that will always be something that we want to load as fast as possible. While that's going on, the ad networks will actually bid on the inventory on your site, which is kind of why there's that small delay. That has no impact on user experience because the content already loads and loads first. But this is also beneficial for you because programmatic bidding kind of ensures that you'll earn as much as possible for your inventory. And that's kind of why you see that small delay with ads. But again, that does not hurt site speed metrics, does not hurt Core Web Vitals or rankings, and it only helps you in terms of revenue. So in terms of proving ad loading times, don't want to beat this question, but essentially it's all about loading the content first, and then ads will always load after. GA4, anything changing? Good question. Let me see if anything's been talked about this. Let me pull this up and then I can circle back to your question. But good question, Scott. Let's see. There are some things, sorry. And it looks like we have a support article about this. It looks like Google is actually making some changes on their end still. So Google has this article, Google warns of low real-time data and universal analytics reports. So nothing that I know on our end, but I'll make sure I get a better answer to this because I know I didn't really touch up on this super intensely. But I will get a better answer on this. But I would highly suggest using our analytics in your dashboard in Ezoic. The main difference being that, as you guys are part of the Access Now program, since your name server is CDN integrated, we actually track all of our data through the server side of things, which is actually more accurate. So I would just go through the analytics in Ezoic for now, but I'll get a better question for you, better answer for you, Scott. Watchers blog, Sean. Oh, of course. How are you, Sean? I'll introduce myself again in case you guys joined late or not, but my name is Charlie. I'm happy to answer. Feel free to ask anything down in the comment section. I'm actually going to repeat myself. But you guys can basically use the comment section to cover anything you want regarding Ezoic, whether it's something you love, whether it's something you hate, whether it's something you wish we had, whether it's something you're confused about, whether you want to troubleshoot something, whether it's something specific to your setup. We can really use this time to cover whatever's most beneficial for you all. Decide. It says, my ad manager account is not approved. Please help. In order for me to help, I'm going to need a little bit more information, whether it's a denial on the account, or if it's on your domain, maybe what the reason was. We can kind of go from there. SK Educate says, hello, Charlie. My website got approval for level 2. What can I expect from this level? Can I expect increase in revenue due to A+ ad partners? So I don't think the ad partners change any from Access Now level 1, level 2, but you do get support through our publisher success team. So that's kind of one of the best benefits, depending on how you like support, of course. But the best benefit you'll basically see is that, getting access to our publisher success team, they can actually do some more in-depth deep dives of kind of Epmb metrics, SEO, and kind of go from there. But the main difference is going to be how you basically get support. And then I think going from level 2 to level 3, you actually do see boosts in performance. You can see more of that on Ezoic.com levels FAQ. But I want to say, first off, congratulations on leveling up. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. You can always come back to these live streams, of course, and ask questions. We're not going to say, hey, you can't ever come back, especially if you like them and find them beneficial. But I will say, since you're improving, and if you are curious about maybe the more higher paying ad partners, the longer you stay and the more you improve will increase your chances of being invited to premium. And then premium, we do have, some other premium ad partners that are involved on that side of things. Just a comment, the new larger video player is awesome. Much better UX, I think. So I agree with you. I really like that one. I saw it for the first couple times over the past couple days. I do also think it is good. But I think Zoic and our video team will be really closely paying attention to the data. Whatever the data points to is basically how we're going to gear our next changes and kind of what we do next with the video. But I would agree that the larger video is pretty great. I am also pretty subjective. I would say I'm technically a Gen Zer, as I was born in '97, but I would say video content for me, and I think maybe the younger generation, is definitely going to be a change going forward. I think it's a little bit more digestible to take in content opposed to just reading over and over. I think that's also an issue with maybe the shortening of our attention span in general, but not to go into too much of a rant. I agree. I think this is a great format. But if you are, maybe thinking the opposite, saying, oh, I think this is terrible, well, rest assured that Ezoic will basically go up everything purely based off what the data we have. So if it's showing that it is hurting user experience for the majority of people, then it is something that we will, change and, improve. Watchers blog, Sean, that's right. Sean, great question here. It's a bit hard to exactly, give you an answer and say, hey, this is exactly what your Epmb is going to be based on, what your traffic is, where your traffic is coming from, purely because there's so many other things that go into this question. The type of content, maybe even your niche, your length of content, where users are coming from, regardless if it's the US, they could be coming from social media, Pinterest, Google. So there's kind of a lot of other things that go into this question. I can give you this tool really quick. It's actually, technically, it's called the Epmb calculator. You can kind of guesstimate and, enter some of the data here and kind of maybe get an idea of what it could be. But anyway, again, it's a bit hard of a question to answer. Maybe with some more clarification, we can talk about maybe the highest paying niches or topics and go from there. Mom Van Up says, hi, I'm adding video ads this month. What can I expect? Well, that's awesome. So Mom Van Up, I know I've actually seen your YouTube channel before. We love it. All of us on the team, we love your channel. You can actually expect, an increase in earnings because we have seen that these video Epmbs are performing very well. We're also making a lot of changes and improvements. So I think, adding video content, I know you have tons of it and a lot of great stuff. I've seen a lot of it and I love it. So you can expect an increase in revenue because you're actually, you're just giving more variables for our AI to test. You're just giving more ad formats. So you can see an increase in revenue for sure. Sean goes back to this question: what Epmb will the website get the majority of US traffic? Given that the website niche is entertainment, semi-evergreen content, movies, TV series, anime, etc. Again, it's a bit hard to answer exactly what your Epmb will be based off this information. I did drop the Epmb calculator below. But I think the best thing to do for you is to go into the analytics tab of your dashboard and just see the current data that is already available for you and then go from there. Maybe you can see that some of your articles that are, covering some of the evergreen content are performing really well. Maybe the movies content is performing better than the TV series content. So it can also give you an idea of, specifically what you write about is performing best. Maybe it'll give you an idea of what you want to write about in the future and then go from there. When it comes to Epmb, I find it's all over the board. One day I'll make 40 and the next 22. So yeah, I would check to maybe see if you have articles that are maybe like popping off or going viral on some days. Maybe you can see what changes you made on the other end. Regardless, I would say a $40 and a $22 Epmb is very good. That is awesome. Well done. I'm happy for you. I do want to check back up. Scott, that's right. Sorry, Scott. That's awesome. That's something we can check for sure. Maybe the one thing that's kind of coming to my head as a scenario. Maybe one day if you have, let's say you had 200 visits, you can maybe see a $40 Epmb, and the next day maybe you have 600 and there's 22. But without knowing your domain and seeing the actual data, it's going to be a bit hard to kind of answer. If you're sitting there with your dashboard open, I would say go to the analytics tab of your dashboard, check out your top landing pages, and maybe see if there's one landing page that's performing really well. Maybe there's one that's hurting, and you can make changes going there. But again, I would say if you're curious on maybe why this is happening and you want us to really answer this, go into Twist, open a thread, say, hey Charlie, this is Scott. This is basically what we talked about this morning, and I want to get some more insight on my Epmb. It just looked very spammy with all the placeholders with multiple ads showing with one after the other initially, maybe adjust with time. So yes, more placeholders does not mean more ads. See if you guys follow up. This publisher was asking about, how do I delete WordPress plugin placeholders because they already have added some using the Chrome extension, and I basically went on to say, having more placeholders is actually better. So if you're having ads show up back to back, that probably means there could be unwrapped Adsense ads because our AI will not test back-to-back placeholders without content between it. So that's something that we can look, but it will adjust over time. So if you just added those placeholders, it will take some time for our AI to learn your site and kind of learn the best step and layout for your future visitors. So I would give it some time. Token Media says, hello, Charlie. How long does it take to level up from Ezoic now to level 1, or excuse me, to the next level? I've reached more than 14,000 visits and more than $100 revenue, but still on Ezoic access now. So if you reach the criteria during a 1 calendar month, basically what I mean by that is you'll have to hit the 10,000 page views and $100 revenue in 30 days time. That doesn't mean any 30 days counts. It has to be from June 1st to June 30th or 31st, and then from May 1st to May 30th or the end of the month, May 31st. So if you started maybe at the end of June and now you're hitting the 14,000 and $100 revenue, basically that data will only accumulate or sum up from the first to the end of the month. I might have answered that very poorly, but essentially, Token, let's say over the month of July, you saw 14,000 visits and $100 in revenue. By the 10th of August, you will see the level up to the next level. But that is a bit confusing. You're actually going to have to hit that criteria in 1 calendar month. Do you have any advice on accessing whether or not a niche has enough traffic to make a full-time income from? So I think there's a lot of variables that go into this. What is a full-time income for you specifically? It might be different from one publisher to the next. Maybe maybe you have a family, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have to pay rent, etc. But yeah, I would basically say you're gonna have to use the current data that you have already readily available, and maybe you can access and say, hey, I've seen this amount of increase in my traffic and revenue over the past few months. Maybe this is what I can expect with the same effort going forward. And then you can kind of calculate, maybe your living expenses to what you're earning, and that can kind of be your gauge or your calculation of, if that's going to be enough to be a full-time income. But again, a bit hard for me to answer. But that's a good point. If there are books, magazines, or other websites, there's probably enough traffic. Low again. Yes, exactly. Yes. Hope everyone made a ton of affiliate money from the last 2 Prime days. I made almost $2,000. That is amazing. I love to hear that. Looks like, sorry. Looks like Scott also made some money. So yes, I love that. I love how you guys are making money from Prime Day. That is beautiful. That is amazing. So Scott says, yeah, GA4 is acting crazy. I use your analytics. So yeah, my computer just died. But there is some Google articles out there that are going over some of the bugs and the things they are seeing. But I would say for now, definitely use our analytics. It's very accurate, and it's server side, so it's great. Can I use the Zoic WordPress even if my site is not up yet? Can I build my domain in Ezoic hosting WordPress? So you do need to come to our hosting using some of the Ezoic features in order to be eligible to be on our hosting. So what I would say is build some of your site initially, and then once you kind of have articles and things going, sign your site up, use Leap, use our analytics, use some of our other features, and that way you can stay on our hosting. Because that's going to be the criteria to stay on our hosting is to use some of these Zoic features. So, hey Charlie, is it normal for Adsense to outperform a Zoic premium pay? No, but it's not unheard of course. I talked about this a bit earlier. This usually means, I'm just going to call you King because I think that's awesome. King, what this usually means is that there's something that needs to be set up on our side of things or in the dashboard, which is why you're seeing AdSense outperform. Because if you are sending 100% of traffic and you are fully dialed in, that alone should have you outperform AdSense. On top of that, you should be enabling AdSense mediation. So that way, if AdSense partners are outbidding Ezoic, you are seeing those, you are still earning the revenue. So you're still earning more through Ezoic. But to clarify on that question, the mediation earnings will still be paid out through AdSense. That might be a bit confusing for some of you guys when you do actually get paid out. But no, it's not normal, to answer your question, for AdSense to outperform. So I think, King, this is a really good time for you to just go into Twist, say, hey, Charlie, we worked this morning. AdSense is earning more. Can you let me know, where I'm missing out on in terms of optimization? If you guys are all sitting there asking that question, the best thing to do is to go to the levels dashboard. And then from there, you can basically see your optimization opportunities from a beginner standpoint all the way to an expert. So if all of those are checked off, then you're basically, you're ensured that you're dialed in. And then, again, it won't be an immediate change in terms of Epmb if you do fully optimize in the levels dashboard. But give it a week, give it a couple weeks, couple months time, and you will see Epmb increase and outperform AdSense for sure. Which formats does the Zoic video player accept? .movie, etc. Oh, this is a terrible time for my computer to be dead because I just asked this question. But I do believe that it takes all of those, including .movie and I think MP4 as well. But yeah, it's dead. Regardless, so it does take all of those, but I think the best way to do it is to just have them uploaded through YouTube and then embed them through the dashboard. I can get you a better answer on this. Let me see. My computer just revived itself. But it's a great question. Okay. So this is something that I actually talked about recently. If you are running MP4, sometimes the files can work weird through Safari. So it will work fine for Chrome and everything else, but I think that's the one issue we've seen is MP4 going through Safari. If there's anything else. So yeah, it does look like in terms of formatting, basically everything should work, especially if it's enabled and uploaded through YouTube. Cool. But yeah, I'll get a better answer on this. Let me write that down so I don't forget. Good question, Tom. Thank you for that. And I can also maybe find out what the most like ideal video file is in terms of speed and basically compatibility. But I think that's a great question. Evelyn asks, "Hi, why would a drop-down submenu won't display in the home page but can display in other pages?" I think without troubleshooting this or having the domain up on my side, this most likely sounds like a leap confliction. I'm going to send you this one article right now. It kind of goes over this. But the one thing I would do is go to your, the speed tab of your dashboard, turn off leap, and then revisit the pages. And if your menu starts to work again on those other on not the home page or whatever you said, then you can kind of point the causation to being towards leap. But if you actually go into the article I just posted down in the comment section, one of the first things we cover is the menu not working, and it's usually in terms of script delay. So instead of turning all of leap off, I'll maybe take a step back and say, just turn script delay off, and then preview your site again, and maybe see if that was the feature that was causing issues. Someone says earnings in Epmb dropped off after turning on mediation. Enabled 4 days ago. Should I wait or turn it off? I would actually leave it enabled, but can you do us a favor and can you reach out to us in Twist and say, hey, Charlie, I was with you this morning. I enabled mediation 4 days ago, but my Epmb is kind of dropped off. This is something that I want to look at and make sure there's no issues there. But I would leave it on and just reach out to us. Because my initial thought that there could be some maybe AdSense ads showing alongside, so it could be messing up our ad tester and kind of hurting revenue kind of severely. So I just want to make sure that everything in terms of mediation is dialed in. Rude says, I added video through Humix with 600 to 700 visits a day and made 1 cent each day. So after 2 days, I turned Humix auto engage and earn display video off because it isn't worth it. Is that normal? So earning 1 cent off this is not normal. I'm not sure if we were looking at this specifically with yours, but we actually saw this with another publisher yesterday, and so we actually had to flag it to the team, and they're making adjustments and changes on their end currently right now. So it's not normal, but I would say, keep it on if you would like, and we will be pushing updates very soon on this because we did see this with another one. It is not the normal, but I agree that's 1 cent for 600 700 visits a day. It does not correlate, does not make sense. But no, it is not normal. Oh, I'm already at the Ezoic premium program since level 1. As you said, how can I coordinate with the publisher success team? So I think for you'll have to go into the levels dashboard. Excuse me, if you're in the dashboard, you'll see the levels tab over on the top right. And then when you actually click on that, you might see the drop down will actually have your publisher success manager right there. And then from right there, you can click on them and you can open up a ticket. You can email them, open up a ticket, and actually reach out to them directly from there. If you're still confused on how to do that, go ahead, open up a thread in Twist, and I can actually just visit your dashboard and say, hey, this is who it is, this is how you reach them, and then we can get you all set up with them, and we can kind of give you a healthy transition to the publisher success team. Prawn says, "Hey, I received a notification. Reminding me to set up seller's JSON, but I don't have the option to do that on my Zoic settings. Also, ads.txt, same as seller's JSON. Not the same, but similar concept. It kind of will validate your identity to the ad networks. But seller's JSON is handled automatically when you cloud integrate with the Zoic. So if you are in the Access Now program, which it seems like you obviously are, I would make sure that you are actually name server integrated, not just integrated through the plugin. Because if you're integrated through the plugin, we will not set up seller's JSON automatically, but it will not be available in your dashboard. But to take a step back, seller's JSON is handled automatically when you cloud integrate now. So most likely there's going to be an issue with integration. And that's something that we can easily fix. Again, head to Twist, open up a thread, and we can get this solved in a matter of minutes. That's no issue at all. Does turning Humix video ads have any impact on page speed? That's a good question. That's something you should probably, or we can all experiment on if you enable it. Keep your eye on Leap and kind of see maybe what the metrics do from there. Maybe see what's getting flagged. Maybe it won't hurt at all. Maybe it will a tiny bit. But again, this is going to be very individualistic to the specific publisher, because you have so many other plugins and things going on in the back end. But this is going to be something that we're going to want to experiment with. But I think in general, the more you load on a page, maybe the slower it'll be. But I think the best thing to do is, work things through the back end to make sure that you're basically optimized, so we'll not see basically any hidden speed. Okay, I'm in a competitive niche, so it's a constant battle for first page. I understand, but I also think, and we also know that the higher the competition, if you are succeeding, the better the success. So while it might be competitive niche, if you're using all the tools correctly and kind of optimizing things from your end, then you'll actually see the benefit of using or of competing in a high competition, because that just means there's more demand. There's more people looking for the niche. I think you said it was with entertainment and TV, so it definitely is a competitive one for sure. Moses says, "Hello, can I be invited to Adsense Certified Partner Program? I had earlier received the email, but I left the Zoic to try something, but now I'm back." So yes, absolutely. We can generate a new invite for you. You can do that by just heading into Twist, open up a thread, say, "Hey Charlie, this is Moses from the live stream this morning. I need a new invite for our AdSense," and all I'm going to need from you is just give us your AdSense email, and then we can do that for you in 10 seconds. My revenue from mediation is way bigger than the Ezoic platform. Do you think I should keep my website on the Ezoic, or should I return to full AdSense like before? I've lost 4K visits so far. So if you're losing visitors, that has nothing to do with integrating with Ezoic. So we want to make sure that your Google Search Console is seeing no errors and there's no issues there, because being on Ezoic there should be no correlation. There should be no effect of losing traffic specifically. So that's something we want to look into for sure. Most likely that's what it is. I'm curious to see who your host is. But I would also say that there's probably something wrong, especially if you are in the premium network, that there's something that we need to look into. It probably means you have, multiple ads showing through AdSense and Zoic, which is going to be the biggest hit to Epmb and earnings. But again, this is something we 100% want to look into, because this should not be the case. Yeah, if it's about 60% less than before, this is 100% confirmation that there are changes that need to be made on our end and your end, just to make sure you're fully set up. Because if you are fully set up, this is not going to be the scenario you'll find yourself in, especially in terms of losing traffic. If anything, we have the SEO data for you to improve traffic. We have Leap, which is built out for specifically Core Web Vitals. Core Web Vitals are a ranking factor. So we are actually just giving you the tools to improve SEO. So simply using Zoic and integrating is not going to be related to seeing that much less traffic. But of course, seeing less traffic will mean less overall revenue. My first inclination is going to be that you could be seeing some errors in Google Search Console. Does showing your Ezoic accreditation on your site improve EAT? I'm not sure what EAT is. Can you clarify what that is for me, Scott? But what is the average Epmb for Indian traffic if the site contains native language? Good question. So the ad revenue index also includes for different countries. So you can kind of calculate that. There's also an Epmb calculator that we have up above that you can also use, but usually Indian traffic will have a lower Epmb compared to US traffic, as you guys all probably know. But again, without seeing metrics, it is hard to tell. You know why most or all publishers I see losing 60% of traffic post Google core update? I'm also affected due to this. Can you tell me some factors Google used this time? Revenue is good and increasing. Can you tell some factors Google used this time revenue is good and increasing? I'm confused on what your question is there on the second half of that. But in terms of the Google core update, that is something that we are kind of acclimating to and we're changing to on a day-to-day basis. But again, Google does push these updates and they're not fully transparent and explicit on what these changes are and what they are. But yeah, that is something definitely we want to look into. You can also go into the analytics and see which pages, if there are any errors, which pages are performing well, which ones are not. You can see where things have changed. We can use title tag tester to actually test those different titles and actually improve SEO in terms of or on that side of things. But yeah, in terms of these Google core updates, we do have our entire SEO specialist team. They work hand in hand with Google, so they're constantly making changes on our end as fast as we can to keep up with these updates. Someone here says, I have purchased traffic from my site. This is usually never the best avenue to go. Usually the traffic is very low quality and can sometimes lead to a disablement. I would say if you're looking to improve traffic, revenue, and the longevity of your site on Ezoic, I would say work on SEO and improving your organic traffic. The data points that organic Google users also engage with your content the best, which means they're also going to increase Epmb and you'll see more money in your pocket. But I would say purchasing traffic is never the right way to go. I would never honestly suggest this. It's a recipe for a disaster. I'm 100% a Zoic platform. I don't have any extra AdSense. I'm using Leap and it's 82 in mobile and 79 for desktop. So if you are showing 100% of Zoic traffic-wise, that is great, but there still could mean there could be extra AdSense ads showing on other pages that aren't wrapped. But again, token media, please, if you are in Twist, please post in there, and we'll go through and make sure everything's dialed in, because that much of a discrepancy and variance between the platforms is something that we need to look into and make changes. Scott clarifies E is expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness, or page quality, how G uses your EAT for traffic. Okay, so good question. I'm not sure if the Zoic accreditation has anything to do with this, but at least thank you for the insight here, Scott. EAT is expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, or page quality, how Google views your EAT for traffic. Good question. Let me ask. I was also losing traffic when I first integrated Zoic, but I later discovered that the issue was my web host. They blacklisted Ezoic IPs on the firewall, and this restricted access to my site. So yeah, that was also asking, why. I was also asking who your host is, because we've seen a couple issues with some other hosts. For example, a specific host was actually enabling Cloudflare on their end, so it's actually changing the A record IP that we were pulling into our DNS, which resulted into errors in Google Search Console. But there's also things that they can enable firewall-wise on that side, so it actually restrict access to not only your site but to your Google Search Console, or excuse me, your site map and whatnot. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we want to look into, and we want to make sure that we get through those errors because we have seen this in the past, and they are rather easy fix, and we'd rather jump onto this as soon as possible. Mr. Humanity says, is there a way to access the introductory videos we did for Access Now? So yes, if you go into the settings tab of your dashboard, and then you go down to Course Hub, you'll see all the videos you have there. You can revisit them. You can watch more that we have. We have more for basically on who is Ezoic. We have more on the monetization, and we have more on the speed side of things. Moses says, my website became very slow after implementing Ezoic. Before that, it was doing great. Can Ezoic slow my website? So Ezoic will not, integrating with Ezoic does not slow down your site. I'm curious, where are you seeing this? A lot of people they're using page speed insights as as their test. And then when they come to Ezoic, they basically run that again. But page speed insights also uses a lot of outdated metrics. It also uses, it takes in a lot of things into consideration that are not relevant to your actual page or to your actual site speed. So your best thing to do to speed up your site is to use Leap, and Leap will actually flag anything that is hindering site speed. So it's not a biased tool. It's literally full transparency. But yeah, if you're not running ads before and now you're running, ads on all your pages, of course you're loading more content, but there's also so many things we can do that we can remove the excessive content from loading on the page and actually still improve site speed coming to Ezoic. But again, your best foot forward is going to be using Leap. Thanks, Charlie. I'm trying to understand how the platform can help me improve the revenue. Maybe I saw a drop because my business are 100% from Brazil, focused on Portuguese content. So that's actually fine that it's Portuguese content and all, especially if you were using, if you had the same traffic sources before with AdSense. I would say if your audience was primarily from the US on AdSense and then coming to Zoic, you kind of, shifted your focus, which I doubt is the case. But if that was the case, that would explain exactly why you're seeing drop in revenue. But again, that's something I definitely want to look into. I'm actually pretty curious on my end. But yeah, Portuguese content or audience from Brazil does not perform as well in terms of revenue as US traffic does. But again, if it's not me, someone from the publisher success team will happily give a deep dive into your setup and say, X, Y, and Z are things we can do, and 1, 2, and 3 are the reasons why your Epmb is hurting. Dr. Anthati, excuse me if I butchered that, says, what would be the better option between using Zoic ad inserter or placing ads with the Chrome extension in terms of site speed? So I don't think there's actually any difference in terms of site speed, whether you add placeholders using the plugin, the Chrome extension, or the ad inserter. In terms of site speed, yeah, there's going to be no difference there. Unbox Fast says, I have promoted my site through Google Ads. It is not a violation. So no, it's not a violation of Google policy. Oh, and I see, through Google Ads. That's fine. It's okay to run those programs. Scott says, when I switched from Bluehost to Cloudways, my site speed increased a lot. So that's awesome. We are fully compatible with both of these now. And if that was, very beneficial for you, Scott, and maybe others are looking for a new host and ways to increase site speed, because I know server response time is going to be a big one in terms of site speed. So if Cloudways is doing a really good job with that, maybe that's an avenue we can help promote other publishers to also go to. Gene says, isn't that weird? Right after I integrate with Ezoic, my site traffic took off like SpaceX going to Mars. So weird, I guess, but not a bad thing at all. Maybe you had a couple articles go viral. I'm not sure what you write about. Maybe there's the seasonality of things. But regardless, this is great. We have seen this in the past because publishers do integrate. They start using Leap. Their core web vitals improve, which means their rankings improve, which means their traffic improves, which means the revenue increases. And if their traffic improves, that also means our AI is going to have more users and data to test. And the more user and data they have to test, the better the user experience will be for the current users. So it's a win-win, 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 win. Robert says, I get disapproved on Google Ad Manager. What is the reason? If I don't know your domain, it would be hard for me to actually look this up and test. Your best thing to do, Robert, is to go into Twist right after this and just say, hey, Charlie, I was with you this morning. I'm disapproved for Ad Manager. Can you please look into this? And I have looked at hundreds of these, maybe 1,000 of them at this point. I think I've gotten pretty good at seeing, Google's denying for this reason. This is most likely why when I look at your site. Some of the common ones are low value content. And the things I look for is that all of the categories in your menu have a good amount of articles underneath them, that all your articles have plenty of content. Now, none of your articles actually repeat on different, places on your site. But again, there's a couple other things. Without knowing your domain, I can't actually see the reason for the denial, but I can figure this out for you rather easily. So if you're comfortable with it, you can post your domain in the comment section, and I can pull it up and look really quickly. And if you guys can do that, if you say, hey, I actually want you to look at my site, this is my domain, can you check this out really quick? You can say, oh, you can share your screen or not share your screen. That's totally up to you guys. And I can actually just walk you through what I see on my end and basically the things I look for. But again, if you are getting disapproved by Google Ad Manager, there are things we can do on our end to change this. To reverse this decision. It will take a little bit of work on your end, but again, it's an easy thing we can navigate together. But yeah, I'm all caught up on questions as of now. I can either open up Twist and start helping you guys in there, or just answering questions verbally through here, or I can just go through some other things in terms of optimization. But since we are caught up, and if you guys want me to, I can actually go through your domain, as I said before, while showing my screen, so I can show you exactly what I'm looking for. I can even go through your dashboard and say, hey, these are the things that I would look for if I want to increase, Epmb, or maybe even increase traffic, or maybe I could even just go through and talk about the things I visually see and kind of the things that I look for when I'm looking through hundreds of sites a day and their setups. Let me just go through and make sure I didn't miss any questions. But yeah, SK Educates. I'm very curious on what exactly is going on with your setup, because if everything's dialed in and you're a premium and you have everything set up, you should be earning way more than you were previously. So I just want to make sure everything is set up on our end over there. I'm very curious on what that is about. Looks like there's some dogs barking outside. But yeah. Oh, King says, how do I get access to Twist? So right when you actually integrate, you will get an invite to Twist through your email. This will be the email that you use to sign up with the Zoic. So King, what you should do is go into your email, type in Twist in the search function, and you'll find invite to Twist. If you if you cannot find your invite to Twist, and you want to be in there, oh, he's on a premium level. So that probably means that probably means you're going to reach out to our publisher success team. But King, what I will do for you is I'm going to drop my email down in the comment section. And what you can do is you can just email me if you don't want to give out your domain right here. You can just send me a quick email. Say, hey, hey Charlie, this is King from the live stream this morning. Can you generate a link for me to Twist? Or I can just say, hey, this is who your publisher success manager is. This is how you can reach out to them. But again, I can get you into Twist if you are still level 1 or access now. Scott says, how many blog articles should we post per week? Great question. I think this is kind of more up to you. I think there's some publishers on Ezoic that have all evergreen content, so they write 0 articles a week, and they just have the same users coming back using their tools or using the evergreen content. But I would also say maybe if you're writing on entertainment and movies and things like that, you probably want to write a handful of articles a week because you just want to stay on top of things as things move very quickly in those niches. But I would also say that there's no harm, no foul in writing more articles than not. You might have one randomly pop up and go viral, which is great. You might have article not do as well. So I would just say maybe writing more and more content and articles per week, the better. Token says, can I send you a DM on Twist asking you to check what's possibly wrong with my website? Absolutely. So if you are in Twist, just DM me. My name is Charlie S. In Twist. But yeah, go through, send me a quick DM, and I'll at least just take a quick look, and I'll say, even if you send me a quick DM, I can say, hey, these are the couple things I noticed. I'll message your publisher success manager and say, hey, this publisher is seeing lower earnings than they were previously. Let's make sure that they're dialed in. We can go from there. Trent says, is there a movie review website showing Ezoic ads, and do they have a good Epmb? I mean, through the data you see. So yes, we do. There's actually a lot of them, and they do have really good Epmb. It can be, again, so many other things going. Some of them have really successful YouTube pages. Some have really successful Pinterest pages. Some are really good at optimizing SEO. So that can also play into what the Epmb could be. But yes, we do have people doing movie review websites, and they do great in terms of Epmb. But again, there's a couple other things, depending on where they get their traffic, what exactly they write on, how they write, how good they are at writing. There's kind of a lot that goes into it there. Ross says, hi, can you guys come up with more interview podcasts of VIP customers and their journey? I think that's brilliant. I see no reason why this would not help you and many, many others. I think this is actually a really good idea. I know we do have some like testimonials and kind of, some shorter things of like, hey, this is what I did and I joined. We did have a webinar with one of our longer lasting publishers, and he's also super successful. I know we did a webinar with him recently. I think that's also on our Zoic page, but I think that's a great idea. I can bring this up to the publisher success lead, because I think that obviously if it worked for someone and they can give some insight on how it worked and what worked for them, maybe what didn't work from them, that can provide a lot of helpful insight to you all. So I'm going to write this down so I do not forget to ask. Great idea, though. That is a really good idea. If you guys also have any other ideas like that, like, hey, this is something I would love, please throw it in the comment section, and it's easily something we can take up. I think that's one of my favorite parts of the Zoic is if we don't like something or if we do like something, we can make changes. We don't have to climb a corporate ladder and say, can we please do this? It's beneficial. They'll be like, hey, good idea. Let's test it out. And if it's working, let's keep doing it. So this is something we can easily do. Then again, if you hate something, also please let us know, because we are very willing to make the changes in order to benefit you all. Mm. In case of scientific articles, journals accept the content that is below 50% plagiarized. What would be the maximum plagiarism that Google AdSense and Ezoic platform consider legal? I don't know the answer to this question, but I think if I knew the answer to this question, I wouldn't even be able to say. But I would also like to add, I understand, especially in terms of scientific articles, that there's only so many ways you can say a scientific fact or theory or hypothesis or process. I know there's only so many words out there, and especially in terms of science, you really need to be careful with the word choices you use. So it can be a bit similar to other ones. But I would say that just a general rule of thumb, it should be 100% original. That way you can just avoid any sort of issues with both Zoic and AdSense because you're not allowed to monetize content that is not yours. I use this terrible analogy every single week now, and I think I'm going to use it again. But let's say, Scott has a house and, he's from Florida. I can't just walk up to his front lawn, put a for sale sign and say, I'm selling this house because, I can, and I put a sign down. Like, I don't own that house. I don't own that content. You can't just put ads on content you do not own. But I do understand that, especially in terms of science and things like that, that there's only so many ways to say something. So I would just gear on the side of try to make it 100% original. Hi. Why after integration with Ezoic, I cannot see view count, impression, clicks, RPM, even Ezoic views are lower than actual number. So if you just integrated, you're probably not showing Ezoic versions of your pages yet. So if you are in the analytics tab of your dashboard, at the very top, you'll see basically the platform of the data you're showing. And I think it's automatically on Ezoic. So if you actually click that, press change platform to all platforms, it'll show all the data across your old and Zoic versions of your pages, which will probably link up with your GA, which is your Google Analytics. If you're seeing that and you're like, oh, there's actually like a 50% variance, like I'm only seeing half of the visits in Ezoic than I am on my Google Analytics. That probably means there's a plugin enabled that you need to disable. Sometimes it's SiteGround Optimizer plugin. Sometimes it's Jetpack. But there's a couple ones as well that you need to deactivate. But if you're seeing more of just like a smaller variance, maybe like 5 to the 15% variance between Google Analytics and our Analytics, that's actually totally normal. That's just because the different ways that we actually track our data. Zoic will be server side, and then GA will be like via JavaScript, like via the script you actually add on your page. So even if everything is set up perfectly, and let's say you get 100 visits in a day, Zoic might report 100, GA might report 95, or vice versa. But that's normal. But if you're seeing no data at all, I would check the platform in the analytics tab at the top. And then if you're saying, hey, I still don't understand this, go into Twist and we can clarify everything for you there. I don't know if this is Sport Life or I think it's Sport Life. Do you guys see a clear correlation with content length and income? Great question, and I will say yes and no. So I think if I were to say yes, this is a correlation that the longer the article, the higher the Epmb. That's not the case. I'm going to give you this article right now. Basically, the data shows average engagement time based on word count. The highest will be anywhere from 2,500 to 5,000 words on a page. And then the second performing will be kind of around the 5,000 plus. And then also on the good side of this will be 1,000 to 250, 1,000 to 200 and 500 words per page. And we actually do have an article on this. I'm going to drop down right for you, right there. But no, so there's not, to answer your questions, simply no, there's not a direct correlation between the two. Debrun says, can I mail you or DM you after this live stream to take a look at this mess? Yes, you can, but I will probably direct you to Twist, and then when we're actually in Twist, we can fully go, into full detail on your placeholder setup. We can go through all your pages top to bottom, but it'll be best to do actually in a thread in Twist, because I can help you, Tucker can help you, Taylor can help you, the entire UK team can help you when we're not aligned. So that's Harry, Imogen, Ethan, Jan can help you, and we can kind of teamwork and really, break down what exactly we need to do on our end and your end. But yeah, reach out to me and I can point you in the right direction. If not, help you right away, right there. Become the Happiness says, last week I joined a Zoic Access Now program. Under optimization opportunities, placeholder density is 0 to 100, even though I created placeholders and ads are displayed on my site. What would be the reason? So maybe, well, first off, welcome to the program. It could be if you just added them recently, it might take some time for our admin side of things to pick up these changes. I would actually go to your actual pages, enable the Chrome extension, and you'll actually see the placeholders show as colored boxes on your pages. And just to make sure that the placeholders are actually being found on your pages. I can also help troubleshoot that. So if you just joined, you are going to be in Twist. Go into Twist and I can make sure that those placeholders are actually being found on your pages. Because you might be asking yourself, Charlie, I don't even know what that means, enabling the Chrome extension. I can also show you how to do that there. It's actually very straightforward and easy. 2 clicks and that's it. But I can help you out there. Most likely, if you did create these placeholders, it's probably just a delay. Kind of to go on another topic of this, if you are using WordPress, I would highly, highly suggest using the WordPress plugin for placeholders, for generating placeholders. It creates just about 60 placeholders immediately. Top of the page, bottom of the page, in content, doesn't do native, it does bottom of the page. It also does top of the page sidebar, sidebar middle, sidebar floating, sidebar bottom. So it really just adds a bunch of placeholders right away, and then you can kind of customize your options from there. But without going on too much of a rant, I can help you out with that. It's most likely just a timely manner for our system to pick up those changes. Kindly start live chat section in the Zoic because it will help many novice. So we agree with you, but we actually found that the live chat wasn't as successful as some of the other avenues of support. So it's not out of the question whether we'll do it in the future or not. But I will say that Twist is like it's probably the best happy medium between live chat and actual just like email support, because Twist, we can actually just comment back and forth, one after another. So it is the most typed live chat session that you do have. But the beauty of it is you can work over all the time frames, because we are covering those Twist channels 24 hours a day during the week, and then a good bit over the weekend. So Twist is, maybe I'm wrong because I'm on this side of things. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I think Twist is a really good avenue for support. It's not exactly live chat, but if we're both in the thread at the same time, we can literally just, fire off responses basically live time. Scott says, does the Zoic have suggestions regarding page categories? I noticed I'm at 0. There really aren't any suggestions. Good question. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by this regarding page categories. Scott, clarify a bit down below, and we can easily go into this, or just head into Twist and we can kind of go through this more. Scott, clearly you're smart. You asked a lot of good questions. I wish I could answer. I wish I had all the perfect answers for you, but I can easily get them. Jonathan says, how do I make my website as good as you are at ping pong? So Jonathan is a developer here at Ezoic. I like to crush him in ping pong in my free time. But to actually answer this, I would say use Ezoic platform features through in and throughout. Don't just come in for the ad network side of things. Use the SSL. Use the analytics. Use our privacy tab. use absolutely everything that Zoic has to offer, because it's not just an ad network. It isn't a one-in-one tool for you to use. But good to see you, Jonathan. Thanks for joining. I'll kick your butt later in ping pong. Oh yeah, the day I saw an interview with Dave Layfield, I've decided to be a VIP publisher in the next 3 years. That's awesome, and that is 100% obtainable. Even if you're at the Access Now level right now, it's not, the only limit you set, like the only limit you have is basically what you set to yourself in terms of how much effort and time you're going to put into your website. But that is 100% a valuable goal and an attainable goal. And I think being on Ezoic is the best way to achieve this, due to it not just being an ad network. It is a tool for you guys to use in all these different aspects. I've kind of said this 100 times, but Ezoic was built out in fine detail for these bigger, more successful sites. And when this program came around, they gave you guys full access to all the features and tools we have. So being in the Access Now level right now doesn't mean you cannot be at the VIP level in 3 years, 2 years, 4 years, regardless. So I love that. And you will be a VIP publisher with that mindset, no doubt. Trent says, so I have a website in Arabic language that I show Ezoic ads, and I decided to make a sub dictionary for English language. I made it, and the homepage showed ads, but the first article I wrote in English yesterday didn't show any ads until now, although the page has 15 placeholders. So I'm curious if you added this maybe potentially as a subdomain. So if you added this English variation as like a subdomain, we will actually have to go through and turn that on our proxy in order for it to show ads. So if that is your example, which I've seen in the past other publishers do, which is why I'm saying this, simply just reach out to us in Twist. We can go through, check your subdomain, make sure everything is working and in coordinates there, and then we can actually just turn on our proxy, and that's when the ads will show. But honestly, now it sounds like ads are showing, so you probably are all set up. But regardless, we can go through that with you. Side note, I love the picture you have for your thing. That looks like an absolutely massive turtle. I don't know if that's a real turtle, but before I go on too much of a rant, that is awesome. Oh, Spirit Life, Sport Life, yep. Even though most think it's, so it is Sport Life. Okay, I could also see it being Spirit Life as well, but Sport Life, I love that. I think I remember that from the previous live streams, which is why. Token says DM sent. Your help is much appreciated. Of course, yes. And if I can't offer direct help right then and there, I can easily just go ahead and point you in the right direction to who your publisher success manager is. I'll let them know the exact issues you're having, and then give them my 2 cents and be like, hey, this is the best step forward. Let's reach out to the pub, get them ready to go. I really don't want to butcher your name, but they ask, can I apply to level 2? I already have over 11,000 visitors so far this month. Yes, you can. So just to clarify, you guys do not have to apply when you go from Access Now to level 1, but going from level 1 to all the other levels, you do actually have to apply. So if you are in level 1 and you want to go to level 2, just apply. It doesn't hurt to apply. If you think you're going to hit the metrics, definitely apply. You will not be automatically leveled up from level 1 to level 2. But great question. King says, how can I check how much I need to earn until I move to the next tier of premium? So I don't think there are actually tiers of premium. You're a premium ad network, and then you can actually go improve in terms of levels. So your levels will actually show in the levels dashboard, and you can basically see exactly the metrics you need to hit in order to hit to the next level. But there's no tiers of premium. I know you can actually buy different premium subscriptions, I'll say. I know there's like diamond, there's like 3-star, 5-star, 7-star diamond. I can include some of that if that's what you're confused about, but I can clarify for that to you as well. Scott's previous question. So Scott was asking about page categories, the under page optimization. I'll have to look through this specifically for you, Scott, and I'll pull up your I'll try to find the suggestions for you. Scott, I don't know if you're in Twist or not, but I did drop my email in the comment section. Just send me a quick email so I have your domain and I don't lose it, and I can just actually pull that up for you specifically and take a look for you there. Maybe you can change the big data analytics on the same page as other options in dashboard for better UX. Change the big data analytics on the same page as other options in dashboard. I'm confused exactly what you mean here, but if you're talking about moving where the big data analytics actually sits or displays, that's totally understandable. And that is something we could potentially change. But just clarify a bit more, and then I can write it down and I can bring it up to the team. This is a great question here. How long does it take for today's estimated earnings to update? So if you guys are in the dashboard right now, it's currently 10:31 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So the data for today will actually update tomorrow. We will show some estimated earnings, but it won't be 100% accurate. But you'll see today's earnings update tomorrow morning around 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We do pull the data directly from Google, so sometimes there's reporting issues on their end, so there might be a delay. But for the most part, it's always going to be around 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time the following day. Michael says, Ezoic is the best ad network on the planet. I cannot ask for anything better. Thanks for having my site on board. We love that. We're happy to have you. I also agree with that. But I also want to clarify that Ezoic is not just an ad network. While it does have a really good, we do use Google's ad network, which is, the best it can get. Ezoic is actually a full-on tool for publishers to use. It's not just an ad network. We offer these incredible services for free. I mean, we literally include free hosting, free access to Leap when you're monetizing your site. The analytics, everything is free. And so Zoic, while it is a really good ad network, it is not just an ad network. It is an all-in-one tool for publishers. And of course, they have an incredible AI ad tester that really has been proven to work well. Yeah, that's what I meant. Oh, okay. So yeah, the levels dashboard will be your insight there. And thank you for that, Scott. And I appreciate all the good questions. They've been great. Charlie, do you like being an expert in all things Ezoic? I want to say yes, but I know for a fact I am far from an expert in all things Ezoic. I would say I'm actually on the more novice side of things. The more I learn in Zoic and the more things and features I figure out, and the more I feel like I'm getting a better grasp of things, the more you just learn that you don't know. So it's one of those things. It's like the more you know, the more you don't know, and that's exactly the case. I've only been in Zoic for about 14 months now, and while I have learned a ton, and it's been an incredible experience and then very informative and insightful, I would probably say that I am one of the farther things from an expert. If I could answer all of your guys' questions perfectly with the exact T and decimal and value, maybe, but I'm far from an expert. But I am trying to, I just try to learn something new every single day. I just like to, progress at least my knowledge so I can offer better insights to you guys. It's not just, I'm not looking here just to reap the benefits and, educate myself. The reason why I really like to do it is so I can further help you guys. And that truly is, what I'm here to do. Responsive ad setup. So King, responsive ad setup is essentially you customizing the sizes of your ads you'll show to specific users in terms of their screen size. So what this actually means is, let's say you went to the analytics of your you went to the analytics and you saw that you have a bunch of users with actually smaller screen sizes. You might think to yourself, a lot of my users are coming with 800 pixels or 800 pixel width screen size, and I noticed that I have all these bigger sized ads enabled for this placeholder. And you might think, showing this really large size of an ad on a smaller screen might be bad user experience. So what you can do is you can basically set up custom rules and say, hey, if a user is coming to my page with less than 1,000, less than 1,000 pixels in width or whatever, I only want to show, these 3 sizes or maybe these 4 sizes for that user. So that's actually going to be what a responsive ad setup is. It's basically going to be applying rules to users with specific screen sizes. So it's not going to be just like a general setting under ad settings. That's actually going to be what responsive ads is. I know it's a bit confusing. We've actually asked the content marketing team to basically write something on this because it is rather confusing, and I don't think there's much in the actual dashboard that shows it. So I agree with you that this is probably a question I would have asked myself as well if I were you. But that's basically going to be what responsive ads are. So if you do set up custom rules for users with specific screen sizes, that's going to be what responsive ads are. Root says, if you're feeling jealous, can you please upgrade me to Ezoic Premium? I would upgrade you guys to Ezoic Premium if I had the chance to. But if you are applying and staying over a longer period of time, we are looking to increase the quantity of sites on Premium. So keep applying, keep improving your site. Rude, you're a great publisher. I can 100% see your site being invited to Premium. Guarav says, like other options, when we click on them, they appear on the same page, but on the other hand, big data analytics open on a separate page. I understand what you mean now. Okay. So I think the reason why it opens up on another page is basically how we handle the data and basically how we show it. I don't think it's internal. But I do understand what you're trying to say here, and I do think that would be a little bit easier. But that's great feedback. I will definitely write that down. I also think that sometimes if I want to add to this feedback, I think something that can be an issue for me is like when I open up the analytics tab, it opens up another page. And then if I also want to compare the data with some of the settings at the same time, it actually won't let me do that. So I think that's also something I can add. Great feedback there. I appreciate that a lot, honestly. Is it better to get basic ads on before jumping in knees deep, and how to do that? Honestly, I would say no. I would not suggest go. Sorry, I was reading the other comments. Is it better to get on basic ads before jumping in knees deep? It's kind of specific to you guys, but I would say if you're looking to optimize and set up yourself, off the bat and as fast as possible, then going in knees deep is the way to do it in the Access Now program. Because as I was saying before, Zoic is not just an ad network; it is an all-in-one tool for your, for publishers. So if you're using basic ads, that's you're kind of limiting yourself on the features you can use through Zoic. So if you're sitting there saying, well, I can't integrate via name servers, I have no other option, then basic ads is a great way to do it. Or if you're like, hey, maybe I just want to set it up and give it a shot, you can run the basic ads from there. But then again, you're going to be missing out on the analytics, the privacy. Actually, no, the analytics are included now. But, you're only going to be running like AI ad formats. You're missing out on a ton of different ad formats. But then again, I would say it's really good if you want to experiment with how Zoic works and use our ad tester. It is great. But then I also want to say, my last point here is that like jumping knees deep is somewhat intimidating because you're kind of like fully diving in and being like, oh, I'm committed. But in reality, even when you do the Access Now program and integrate via name servers, you still have 100% control and access over your domain. You might be like, oh, well, Zoic controls the DNS now. Well, we actually don't. We just act as a proxy. Your host is still going to be your host. Zoic is just going to be a proxy, but we're not changing any of the DNS records to your host. We're not taking control over your DNS. You still control your DNS. You control everything that goes on your side of things. But yeah, hopefully, hopefully I touched on maybe something you're looking for. If you were asking something else about basic ads, let me know and I can kind of circle back to that. But I already have a thread in Access. We'll mention you there. Perfect. I'll make sure I jump in there and check right after this. And he goes, and yes, it's a real turtle, but it isn't me. It's Robert Irwin, a famous wildlife photographer. I was about to say you look kind of familiar, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. I think Steve Irwin had 2 kids. I know he had a daughter and a son, and I think they're both kind of into it. But I love that picture, regardless if it's you or not. That's hilarious. And that is a massive turtle. Can I ask my specialist to handle this for me? Yeah, since you are in the higher level and you do have a publisher success manager, they can do things for you on your end. So yes. Grub says I have a bunch of feedback. Ezoic is a community. Um, um, yeah, Zoic is a community, and I love the feedback. Honestly, if you have a lot of feedback and you don't want to add it just here, my email's in the comments above. Shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to take all of the feedback, whether it's positive, negative, or things you would just like to see. Honestly, feedback is great. I don't want you guys to hold back at all. Ruth says, I wish I had a specialist handler. So when you guys level up to level 2, you actually will. But I don't want to cut short our support team. Of course, I'm on it. But there's actually benefits to being in Access now in terms of support. We do these live streams. We will basically do anything you guys want. I personally think Twist is one of the better avenues. It's not like snail mail, email back and forth, and you're gonna have to wait hours for a response. It's 10:45 in the morning. Currently, Taylor and Tucker are both already in Twist, so you probably have people answering you right now. You have me here in live support, but we also cover it 24 hours of the day, including the weekends. So if you're in the middle of the night and you're like, "Oh my God, my site's down. What the heck?" You might reach out to your specialist, but they might be sleeping, as that's everyone's got to sleep. We're still normal people. So the benefit is being, your site goes down in the middle of the night. You made a change you didn't mean to do. You can just go into Twist right away, and you're gonna have someone that's readily on, has the tech team at their side. But not only that, we also do that on the weekends as well. So yeah, while you might, it might be really nice to have one person you're working with through in and throughout. I think there's also a benefit of just having support offered 24/7. But I totally understand. But when you do level up and go on to level 2 and beyond, you do get the publisher success manager. So if that's something you're really interested in, then apply to level up. You'll be there, Root. I'm pretty sure you're pretty close, if not already there. Oh, right. Okay, I actually think I remember working on this one with you a bit. But yeah, mention me in there so that way I actually get tagged. But I do remember looking into this. But I think that to try to clarify the confusion, having more placeholders is not an issue at all. It's actually kind of on the better side of things. I know I talked about that earlier, but I'm trying to think back if there was actually a specific issue you were seeing. I think I think the placeholders weren't showing on your actual pages, right? I think that's what it was. So I think you had the plugin placeholders enabled originally. They were showing in the dashboard. You deleted them, and then when we reset the configuration to add them, they were actually showing in the plugin, but not on your pages or in the dashboard. And I actually reached out to the tech team with that exact example to see maybe why. So I should have an answer for you. Of course, my computer's dead. Not the best preparation, and I don't know where my charger is, but I will right after this. I'll jump in there. I'll ping the tech team again because I actually asked the developer that built out the the plugin placeholder specifically, so he can take a look in and see exactly what's going on and see what exactly we need to do. Because I remember some of the if you're sitting there saying, "Oh, I actually had the same issue." Sometimes the best thing to do is to reset the configuration when you're in the plugin under ad settings, and that'll kind of reset things and regenerate placeholders for you, which what we already did for you. But yeah, I will ping the tech team again to look into that. Yeah, that is rather annoying when Google updated it and you're on track to hit level 2. Google pushes an update, and it looks like you might not hit it or you might hit it. Regardless, let's just hope you hit it. And then when you do, remember there'll be about 10 days before you'll actually see that update in the levels dashboard. Right. So you deleted some of them. So you should be able to reset the default configuration, as I said before, under the ad settings of the plugin. And then from there, it should regenerate them. But I do think I saw that issue, which is why I flagged the team and see exactly what the issue was. Become the Happiness says, for a new site with very less traffic yet, what is the recommended way to set up ad placeholders? Best number of placeholders and AI placeholders on, enhance. So yeah, enable all the different ad formats, regardless of the traffic and the size and the quantity of traffic. Having more placeholders is better. So I wouldn't say best number of placeholders is 10. For a really long article, it might be 30. For a shorter one, it might be 10 to 15. But I do want you guys to remember that more placeholders does not mean more ads will show. More placeholders actually means there's more variables for our AI to test. And if there's more variables for our AI to test, it means the better the user experience will be. The better the user experience will be, the better your engagement and revenue will actually be as well. It is not an immediate change. This is going to be a timely manner. It's going to happen over time, but your best bet is to just add a bunch of pages. Looks like Scott's heading out. Need to head out. Thanks for your help. Good luck to everyone. Great to meet you, Scott. Have a great one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Moving on, Armand says, my web pages are not on Google, but it is indexed on Google. But when I type a keyword, it's not even in the search results. Is that normal? Well, depending on maybe your ranking, potentially, you might have to be, is it on the second page or on the third page, or is it the bottom of the first page? But if it's being indexed by Google and crawled and found by Google in your sitemap, then you should be all set. I would just work on improving your SEO, so maybe it shows at the top of the first page. Is obviously the most ideal situation. But again, that's something we can, if I missed your question, head to Twist and I can answer that. Grog says, if you guys can change the payment methods a bit, the minimum amount withdrawal is $20, right? Yeah, so the minimum amount is $20. I can ask about this for you. I know there might be some legal terms behind this, which I'm not 100% sure on. But it looks like you have a follow-up here. What if I had made $600 this month, but only wanted to get $300 thrown? And I only want to get $300 throw any of the payment mode, Payoneer or direct transfer, and the rest of the amount will be transferred to my next payment date. So I understand your question. Like if you earn $600, you might only want $300. I think if this was a demand from a lot of other publishers, then I think that will be feasible and easy to change. I'll write this down and I'll ask about it. I don't think this is like a bad idea at all. But I would say I think more of the issue that publishers come to us and ask about is, I want my money now and I want it sooner. So I think most kind of take on the opposite mindset. They're saying, oh, I will only want half of my earnings now and I want half the following month. I think most publishers will say, I want all of my money and I need it now. I forget what that commercial is, but it's my money and I need it now. I love that commercial. But I think that's mostly, the mindset of others. But again, if this is something you want, you're probably not alone. I think other publishers might want it as well. And we could potentially work out something for you with that. But yeah, now we're at the bottom. Need to head out. Thanks for the help. Good luck to everyone. Yeah. So So yeah, I think I actually tried this for you as well, and it didn't work. But again, I did reach out to the developer himself that built this, so I will look for a response right after this and reach back out to you in Twist. But let's make sure I'll make sure that we get those plugin placeholders dialed or regenerated today. Let's make sure we get them in your dashboard and make sure they show on your pages. But I do want to make sure that I get you set up through that today, because I know we were working on it yesterday. I know I reached out to the team later on in the day, but we'll make sure we get that dialed in. Of course. Omran says it was not even on the 7th page. It was ranking, but suddenly disappeared. It happened on all web pages. So I would first ask you to check to see if you have any errors in your Google Search Console. That specifically, but there's also a handful of other things that we need to look into, because there's a lot of things, including just the core update that Google pushed, that can change things. But please reach out to us in Twist, and we'll take a look at things there. But I'm all caught up, so I will leave. I'll stay on here for a couple more minutes in case you guys have some last minute questions, or maybe someone joined in late and wants me to cover something. But I would like to say thank you all so much for joining. This is my favorite part of the week. I love coming in here talking to you guys. I wish I had better answers for you all in every way, shape, or form. But I have a good bit of notes written down. There's a lot of things that I need to go and learn on my free time, and whatever I learn between now and next week, I'll gladly bring to the table and introduce it to the next live stream. Pratik says, when is Zoic live chat available? So we don't have plans to set live chat available for the Access Now program. But I will say, if you guys have used Twist and have used it correctly, you'll probably see that it is actually a pretty good way to communicate back and forth. I understand that we do always need to make improvements. Grav, I will not forget about your feedback. I got it all written down in my handy dandy notebook. Good thing you didn't zoom in on it, because my penmanship is rather poor, but I will not forget about your feedback. It is very valuable, and we do appreciate all the feedback, honestly. King says, oh yeah, of course. I love doing these live streams. I'm happy you found them beneficial. Feel free to join us next week if you want. The UK team also usually does them at least once a week. Sometimes they do them on Wednesdays, sometimes on Fridays. I can double check. But I'm glad you found them beneficial. I love doing them. I like meeting you guys a lot. But yeah, I know you have my email. Feel free to reach out to me, King, and I'll kind of point you in the right direction. Partik says, when will my Epmb increase? It's been low for the past 2 weeks. So we actually did talk about this a bit earlier. It's actually the first thing we talked about, if you want to circle back up to the top. But we talked about how Q2 started exactly 2 weeks ago. So it's very normal to see a lower Epmb from the past 2 weeks. So yeah, this is actually most likely just from the ad index. Of course, if you're thinking, oh, I'm nervous something else on the back end is not configured correctly, or the settings aren't implemented perfectly, you can take a quick look. Of course, we can do that. But if you're seeing a lower Epmb from the past 2 weeks, that is actually 100% normal. That's just due to Q2 starting. So you can see the ad revenue index kind of drop a couple points. So that's actually very normal. Which I guess is annoying, but it is normal and expected. So no cause for concern there. Someone asked, have you considered adding anti-block or anti-ad blocker features? So this is a really good point. And yes, I think we have tried to, and I think there is potential for it, but I think we're working with some ad partners, ad networks specifically, to try to help show ads for users that do have the ad blocker enabled. There's no timeline for that right now. I'm not even sure if that is going to be a thing for sure, but I know that is something that you are not alone with. I think this is a great idea. An anti-ad blocker feature would be really cool. But yes, this is something that we've been considering, and we've been kind of thinking the best plan forward. So yeah, no manual actions or security issues in Google Search Console. No virus. Also, it is showing ranking for a specific keyword. When I type that keyword, my pages are not there. So yeah, this is something I just want to double check on our end. We can, recreate the issue and then basically go from there. But Omran, this will probably be best for Twist, just because it might take a good bit of troubleshooting. But I can definitely look into this for you and get this dialed in for sure. All right, everyone. I'm about to get kicked out of this meeting room in a couple minutes, so I'm gonna wrap things up here. Again, One Life Passport says, "Hey, how can I fix the analytics on the Zoic to match Google Analytics? Because Zoic big data analytic is showing around 1/4 to 1/5 of the traffic, like Google page views and users." So again, um, One Life Passport, can you please go into to Twist and post a thread? This is definitely something that I want to look into and kind of troubleshoot. This could be an issue with the script on your pages, but I'll make sure that that gets dialed in. But there's a couple different things that we want to kind of test and look at on our end. But yeah, with that much variance in your analytics, there's probably something going on. So let's just make sure we get that dialed in. But yeah, please go into Twist, and I'll be there in 4 or 5 minutes. Predict says out of topic, but what education you did. So fair question. I actually moved. So I'm from the East Coast. I came over here to do university. So I studied. Oh, someone's asking for my email, of course. I'll drop my email so you guys can answer, or you guys can shoot me, and I'll basically just direct you in the right way. I won't be able to troubleshoot and answer you time and time again, but I can kind of point you in the right direction. Make sure you're in Twist. Make sure you're getting the support you guys need. But I studied at the university level. I have my bachelor's in science. I actually did industrial organizational psychology, which is essentially a fancy word for business psychology. And then my brother is actually a developer as well. So I kind of grew up with that realm in the house. And I've been somewhat familiar and hands-on with coding in terms of website stuff. I started my own domain. I've been doing that so I can learn things how it goes from your end. I do like Code Academy classes just so I can learn more about JavaScript, specifically as that's primarily what we use in terms of troubleshooting with websites. But yeah, I studied industrial organizational psychology. Okay, perfect. I'll see you in Twist. Yeah, I'm about to get kicked out of this meeting room in 2 minutes, so I'm gonna have to wrap it up, everyone. But again, thank you so much for joining. I love having you guys here. I love, just talking to you like normal people because I know that's what you guys are. Guav says, how'd you landed up in Ezoic? I can answer this before I get kicked out. Okay, wait, Quote Swamp. So Quote Swamp, I just gave my email up there. Shoot me an email and I'll just make sure you do have an invite to Twist, and I'll actually show you guys how to get into Twist. We do have an article on this as well. I'm just going to post it really quick. But to answer the other part of how I found Ezoic, so my sister actually works here, which is exactly how I found it. She's actually a sales lead. And I applied for a couple other tech companies in the area. And this was kind of like another avenue. I just did a handful of interviews, met with the team. That's kind of when the Access Now team was available. So it was only Jan and Amanda at the time. There's only 2 of them. And Harry was over in the UK. And then I kind of joined in. But yeah, my sister's actually a sales lead here, which is exactly how I knew of Ezoic. I knew I wanted to go into tech. Honestly, I was looking for something exciting and new. Best hosting for medium traffic, 100K a month. Great question. I'm going to try to answer these really quickly before I get kicked out. There's a really good link for you right there. Doctor, that's a perfect one. It says, and then lastly, can level 2 publisher contact you through that email ID? Well, if you're a level 2, you can reach out to your publisher success manager on your own. But I can guide you in that process. So even if you're not Access Now, you can reach out to me really quick and at least just point you in the right direction. I won't ignore you. But now that we're at 11 o'clock, I am gonna have to wrap this up. Again, everyone, thank you so much for joining. I'll be in Twist with Taylor and Tucker for the rest of the day. So if you have any issues, any questions, or if I ask you to go to Twist, so we can further troubleshoot stuff on that end, please head over there now, and I'll see you there in a couple minutes. And for everyone that's new or returning, I'll run another one of these next Thursday. So I'll run these every single week. I can schedule out more time in my day to help you guys out. But again, this is not goodbye. This is see you soon. Thank you all for joining. You guys are the best. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Enjoy your weekend. Have a safe weekend. Hope you guys get outside. Enjoy some nice weather, hopefully. But again, thank you all for joining, and have a great one.